Hello again. Now, the issue of land continues to divide South Africans. After a landmark 3-day conference, there seems to be little resolution to the quagmire. The failed promise of tenure, security, customary land rights and dispossession event saw some 450 people from around the country share their opinions on this issue. It was hosted by a rural social movement, 3 university research institutes and a human rights law firm. Well, for more on some of the issues that came up and what are the possible solutions that were looked at, I'm joined in the studio by Alliance for Rural Democracy's National Coordinator, Constance Mogale. Ms. Mogale, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for coming into our studios this afternoon. How was the conference in a nutshell? Was it a success?
The conference was a success. It was overwhelming that we had to turn people away because we had limited, because we were hosting it in a hotel, so limited resources as well as the Zoom limited, because 450 people were in the online. They were online all over the world. We also listened to experiences from the region, Africa, and we also listened to the experiences from research findings from academics who are working with the customary land. So the in-person was in Johannesburg, in Durban, and in East London, the former homeland.
So what are these things that you identified as the challenges in the failed promise of tenure, security, customary land rights and dispossession?
So Section 25, subsection 6 of the Constitution guarantees the tenure rights for people who were previously disadvantaged or discriminated by the apartheid law. And that Section 25, subsection 6 deal with communal land. So the communal land, you will understand that is land mostly under traditional leaders or under communal property associations or trust. So it is the already crowded land that where rural Bantustans were placed, and where people who were there was like a labor reserve, where mines and others will just go and get a pool of employees there. So it was supposed to have a law that protects their tenure rights. Something like so popular word will be title deed, but we are not calling for title deed. We are calling for security of tenure, guarantee of access, user rights, and
that must be very difficult
rights,
because in rural South Africa you've got traditional leaders who tend to be in their majority men. And I saw recently a report that there was a campaign that was meant to start a few years ago about like one hectare, one woman kind of a campaign, but there was opposition from traditional leaders to say, it can't be one woman, 1 hectare, it must be one household, 1 hectare, because many of them believe that a woman cannot be the head of a household.
So I don't want to avert to that campaign, but just to say a bit around that, if you say 1 hectare, 1 household, you should recognize the power dynamics, the intra-household dynamics, where patriarchy is the order of the day. What are you saying around unmarried women, widows, and orphans in the family? So you still giving it the apartheid order, which imposed that men are
very discriminatory.
Very discriminatory to women. Thank you for asking.
So what kind of solutions were you unpacking? What came out of this very important conference? I mean, you've highlighted the bigger problem around communal land. What were ideas that were being shared to say maybe this could be done going forward?
So in South Africa, we have a law called Interim Protection of Informal Land Rights Act. In short, it's IPILRA. So that act is very clear around decision making, around land allocation, around land for development. If you change the user rights of land, then you need to consult the people who are going to be affected. And when I say the people, I'm saying individuals. I'm not saying the traditional leaders. And that law has the citizens themselves, not even citizens, the people who use the land, because we talk rural land here. There are grazers, there are hunters, there are people who are herbalists, who are healers. There are so many users. So people who are tending to lose the income as a result of the change in development has to be consulted.
Is it your experience as an alliance that does not happen, in the government rather deals with the traditional leader rather than consult the people who are the users of the land?
Government has been dealing that conniving with traditional leaders, elite traditional leaders also. I have to mention that there are traditional leaders who are like lambs in the camp who are driven. There are people who are like trendsetters, and the government has preferred to recognize kings and chiefs who will agree to their agenda, so that they can connive and drive the capitalist agenda of making sure that the land that they considered arid and dry, there is mineral deposits in there. And now they don't want to consult everybody. They just want to consult one man.
So
then
one of the suggestions that your conference is making, that consult everyone.
It's make IPILRA permanent, recognize customary tenure, because remember, customary tenure and customary law is protecting everybody. You know, we know that if this land belongs to the Mgunis, the Mgunis have died and the children are in Joburg, nobody will touch that land unless the Mgunis have a resolution, are consulted, and they know what they're going to benefit from that land.
What are your thoughts, very briefly, around equity, in terms of the gender issue, gender equality when it comes to the land in the rural areas?
I mean, we've got Section 9 of the Constitution, and then we say we still have trust in our own Constitution. We've lost trust with traditional leaders and with government because they haven't shown equity. Let me tell you, on the Restitution of Land Rights Act, they have discriminated daughters-in-law or widows, and they said if your husband dies, you are not going to inherit in your husband's wealth. So when they compensate, financial compensation, they discriminate the widows who lost their husbands. Okay. So equity must, the constitutional rights must be implemented, and we don't trust our current government to be the leader in that segment.
Okay, finally, Ms. Mogale, and very briefly, what's next now for you and your alliance? You've done the conference, you've had the views, you've identified the challenges, and you've got ideas about how to resolve them. What's next for you now?
Well, there is an expropriation bill being debated. We are having our alliance partners who are researchers, litigation organizations, and mobilization, and we are guarding jealously around IPILRA. The customary land rights must not be undermined. When we talk expropriation, whose land are we targeting? We're not going to target the land that is mineral rich so that we relocate people, because in Maditokwa, they are relocating people. In Sekuruwe, in Limpopo, in Mukopani, they have relocated, even graves. So we are saying we're going to start doing research and making sure that we document what people's customary practice is currently is, so that any legislation that is going to be done, it must include all those customary practices inside.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the near future.
Yes,
that's Constance Mogale, the National Coordinator of the Alliance for Rural Democracy, Communal Land, sharing with us some of the outcomes of their conference that took place last week, and what they are planning to do next. They don't trust government, they don't trust traditional leaders, and they've got ideas of how to go forward. So we'll talk to her another day.